Next on Eyewitness News at 6, a call for unity.
President Biden addressing the nation after the assassination attempt of former President Trump. His message to the American people.
And caught in the crosshairs, new details about the man who was shot and killed during the attack. The father of two killed while shielding his family. Plus, the 20-year-old gunman identified as a registered Republican who used his father's gun to try and kill an American president. Eyewitness News at 6 is next.
This is Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
Breaking news, the road to the White House takes a troubling turn in Wisconsin. The former president gets ready to accept his party's nomination just hours after an attempt on his life. In Washington, the current president speaks to a divided nation from the Oval Office.
I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies.
Why did a 20-year-old try to kill a former U.S. president, and how did he come so close? Tonight, the nation's top law enforcement agencies are on the case. Eyewitness News at 6 starts now. Hello, and thank you for joining us. You're watching Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock live on ABC 7 Hulu and wherever you stream. I'm Michelle Fisher.
And I'm Jory Rand. Just minutes ago, the presumptive GOP nominee landed in Wisconsin, where despite yesterday's deadly assassination attempt, the Republican National Convention is moving forward as planned. Front of mind tonight, this is the video. In front of mine is this video right here, showing the moment gunshots tore through a Trump campaign rally in Pennsylvania yesterday, grazing the former president's ear and killing a member of the crowd. We have learned the victim is a 50-year-old father and former firefighter who died while shielding his family.
The bullets allegedly fired from a rooftop about 400 feet away by this young man, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. As we come on the air tonight, we have learned that Crooks was a registered Republican. He gained access to an AR-15 style assault rifle purchased legally by his father. We also know he loaded up his car with explosives before driving to the rally, which was an hour from his home. The FBI says while they have not yet identified a motive for the attack, they believe that Crooks acted alone.
Moments ago, President Biden addressing the nation from the Oval Office, his words, an attempt to bridge the vast political divide between Americans.
He says it's time to cool down the political rhetoric and the differences should be resolved at the ballot box. He also says it's too early to know the motive in this attack.
Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There is no place in America for this kind of violence, or for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, or God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace.
The FBI is leading the investigation into the assassination attempt. This shooting putting the country on edge as Republicans gear up for their national convention this week, starting tomorrow, where Trump will name a running mate and officially accept the Republican nomination for the third time.
ABC's Jay O'Brien live in Milwaukee with more on the investigation and what we can expect at the convention. Jay?
Yeah, Michelle and Jory, you heard the president there calling to bring the national political temperature down. Meantime, Republicans have vowed to go ahead with this convention here in Milwaukee after that heinous act of political violence at that Trump rally.
Former President Donald Trump seen leaving his home in Bedminster, New Jersey Sunday afternoon ahead of traveling to Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention. This just a day after what the FBI says was an attempted assassination at a rally in Pennsylvania.
Take a look at what happened.
Gunfire erupting just minutes into his speech. The former president grabbing his right ear, ducking behind the podium. Secret Service agents then rushing to shield him, then lifting him to his feet and escorting him to a vehicle as he pumped his fist in the air. Trump revealing he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my ear. Today, Trump posting on social media, calling for Americans to stand united. 2 people were critically injured and 1 person in the crowd was killed. Identified as Corey Coppertor, his family posting tributes to him online.
Corey was a girl dad. Corey was a firefighter. Corey dove on his family to protect them last night.
The Secret Service saying they neutralized the suspected gunman, who the FBI has now identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. Investigators confirming to ABC News they believe this screenshot, now part of their ongoing investigation, shows the suspect receiving his high school diploma. The AR-15 style rifle recovered at the scene was legally purchased by the suspect's father, according to multiple law enforcement sources. This image shows the roof where investigators say the shots were fired in proximity to the former president. Preliminary investigations say this area was looked at as part of security sweeps, law enforcement sources tell ABC News. Later, there were reports of suspicious activity. A former Secret Service agent says the sniper had just seconds to react.
Until he identified it as a threat, it was an individual from 200 yards moving on a rooftop. He had a very difficult job, identified the threat, and neutralized it within a second.
The president briefed on the investigation Sunday before addressing the nation.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, or any violence for that matter. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything.
In a post on social media, former President Trump said he considered delaying this convention here in Milwaukee 2 days, but then said he thought differently because he didn't want the gunman to force a change of his campaign schedule. Now, security is high here in Milwaukee, but the Secret Service says there are no credible threats. Michelle and Jory, back to you.
All right, Jay, thank you for that report tonight. Now, questions do remain about the Secret Service and how the shooter was able to access a rooftop so close to the former president.
Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Flay is live in our newsroom with that and some new information we are learning tonight. Sophie?
Jory, Michelle, that's right. We're learning authorities outside the security perimeter of the rally were alerted there was a man acting suspiciously, and within minutes, law enforcement spotted the suspected gunman on the roof.
Secret Service agents seen jumping on stage seconds after the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump Saturday. The attack during the election rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, now raising questions about safety protocols. With the Republican National Convention set to start in Milwaukee tomorrow, the event's Secret Service coordinator says,
"We're not anticipating any changes to our operational security plans for this event."
The alleged gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, was armed with an AR-15 style rifle and fired shots from a rooftop about 400 feet away from the stage. ABC News just learning a police officer saw the gunman on the rooftop and attempted to stop the shooter. That officer was threatened when the gunman pointed his rifle at the cop. Moments later, shots rang out, targeting Trump. The roof where the suspect fired from had been surveyed during security preparations for the event, according to law enforcement, adding the roof was empty during those security preparations. The gunman fired up to 8 shots before a Secret Service sharpshooter shot and killed him. I spoke to retired Secret Service agent Michael Soucy, who says securing an outdoor event is much harder than one held indoors. The Secret Service likely knew that the building the gunman was standing on was a vulnerable position. That's why a sniper had a direct view of that roof.
The advance agent should have walked the parking lot, walked with the local law enforcement and recognized that building that was 130 yards and either had it locked, had access to the roof prevented, and that could be just by posting a police officer at that building, posting a person to allow access or not allow access to the roof. That's, I think, is going to come out as one of the security measures that was not done. That even though it was outside the secure zone, it was still a vulnerability, which I think the counter-sniper team identified.
ABC News reporting this is the first time a U.S. sniper has killed an attempted assassin. The FBI is now investigating. Jory?
Sophie Flay live in our newsroom. Thank you. And ABC News will have live coverage of the Republican National Convention this week. David Muir and Lindsay Davis will lead the team coverage. You can watch it on ABC News Live continuously and here on ABC 7 tomorrow through Thursday starting at 7 p.m.
But first tonight at 8, make sure you join us for a special edition of World News Tonight with David Muir. They will have in-depth coverage and analysis of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Again, that's tonight at 8 o'clock right here on ABC 7. Well, he was a former firefighter and a father of 2 young girls.
Tonight, we're learning new details about the man shot and killed at that Trump campaign rally in what we now know is a failed attempt to assassinate the former president. You'll hear from someone who knew that victim when Eyewitness News at 6 returns.
Stream Eyewitness News 24/7. Watch live newscasts, exclusive stories, and video on demand. Only on the ABC 7 Los Angeles app.
Former President Trump survived the assassination attempt, but 3 people were shot, one of them losing their life. We're learning more about the man killed during the attack, a former fire chief from Buffalo Township, Pennsylvania. 50-year-old Corey Comparator leaves behind a wife and 2 daughters. His family posting these photos of him in tribute online. Those who worked with him remember Comparator as a man who didn't hesitate to sacrifice for others.
He's a man that give the shirt off his back to anyone. I mean, in his last moments, he was shielding his family from the gunfire, even if that was just a random civilian beside him. He would have done the same thing.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro ordered state flags to fly at half-staff in honor of Corey Comparator.
Next, California deploys law enforcement officers to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee.
And we take a live look outside over Long Beach on this Sunday, where it is rather muggy out. Some areas getting rain today, but for how long will they stick around? Shayla Girardin has your AccuWeather forecast next.
Now you can get your breaking news and the best coverage from Eyewitness News in Spanish. Visit now abc7.com/español.
We are looking live at Milwaukee, Wisconsin, site of tomorrow's Republican National Convention that will take place all this week. And breaking news, Governor Newsom sending 61 California law enforcement officers in support of local, state, and federal law enforcement partners at the convention. The request was actually made 2 months ago and includes 40 members of the CHP and officers from Bakersfield, Fresno, and Long Beach.
That thunder sounding off for about 4 seconds after that lightning strike over Glendale. A rare thunderstorm making its way across the area this morning, bringing some rain, the heat and moisture in the air, all contributing to some interesting summer weather out there. Let's go ahead and get to Shayla Girardin, who has the latest on the conditions. Shayla?
Yeah, we have seen a little bit of everything out there this afternoon, and we continue to see it as we head into this evening. You can see right now our radar showing several storms still moving across Southern California tonight. We've seen some pretty powerful thunderstorms too. Some cells moving through Lake Los Angeles, even into Barstow right here. You can see that thunderstorm activity, especially as we head into our desert areas. Mountains too. Big Bear Lake still seeing some storm activity, and then farther south into Palm Springs, Desert Hot Springs. You guys are now just seeing some light rain falling, some showers, but we saw high winds, even hail earlier down in our lower deserts. Now, all of this thunderstorm activity we've been seeing over the past couple hours, it has triggered a flash flood warning. You can see just east of Big Bear Lake. So again, talking about several inches of rain that have already fallen in the area, some really powerful winds. So definitely something to keep in mind. If you are outdoors in the area, try to move inside as quickly as possible. And that's not the only reason these storms have been proving so concerning this afternoon. That exact area, so into our San Bernardino Mountains and down into the low deserts, we have a red flag warning still in effect through this evening. So very dry fuels in the area. And of course, that partnered with the thunderstorm activity, any dry lightning could could provide some very dangerous fuels for fires in that vicinity. So expiring tonight at 9 p.m., but a couple more hours of, unfortunately, some very dangerous fire conditions. Different story, though, as we head to the coast. This was earlier today from our Malibu sky cam. Beautiful Sunday out there. You can see those clouds off in the distance. So today, what you saw out there really depended on where you are. It was really nice and cool by the coast. Inland areas, though, still felt some of that heat. A live-looking Malibu for us this evening, coming in 65 degrees, sunny, so proving to be a nice beach day. But look at this, our Blue Ridge sky cam. You can see that cloud formation, not quite what we saw out there earlier, but really was what was fueling those powerful storms we saw earlier this afternoon. Palmdale right now feeling some of that heat still, coming in at 96 degrees. So nice and cool for you by the coast, but inland areas still feeling pretty warm out there this Sunday. Ontario, 89 degrees. Wrightwood coming in the high 70s. We have some nice onshore flow bringing us at that marine layer by Redondo Beach. Upper 60s for you. Nice and cool by the coast, too. Santa Monica coming in 70 degrees. Air quality is moderate out there for most of you, but quite a bit of unhealthy for sensitive groups. That's the orange there. And we have seen some patches of red popping up over the course of the evening right here just east of Pasadena. That is unhealthy for everyone. So all of that moisture we've been seeing, that thunderstorm activity, it is thanks to that dome of high pressure that has just moved east for us. But what that means for us, it is bringing some wraparound moisture into the mix and bring us that shower activity, that thunderstorm activity we saw this afternoon. There is a chance we could see a similar setup as we head into tomorrow, just for those mountains and deserts, but not quite as much as we saw out there today. All right, speaking of which, take a look at that 7-day forecast. So LA, Orange County, morning clouds in the mix over the next couple days, but really nice afternoons. We do cool down briefly, so Tuesday, Wednesday, hanging out in the low 80s, and then warming up once again as we head into next weekend. So Saturday, talking about highs just shy of that 90-degree mark. Valleys, Inland Empire in the 90s to start the week, back up in the triple digits by Friday. But after that, a nice cool down comes your way. Along the coast, that morning marine layer will be pretty consistent, but afternoon sunshine definitely in the mix. Temps hanging out in the 70s all week long. Up in the mountains, so here's that chance to see some thunderstorm activity tomorrow. 20%, but it is there. Temps tomorrow only making it to the low 80s. But in the deserts, it is a different story. Triple digits in the mix all week long. Palm Springs making it to a high of 116 by next weekend. So Michelle, Jory, certainly a wild weather weekend.
Yeah, here comes the heat once again. Shayla, thank you. Our coverage of the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump continues.
His supporters gathering in both the East and West Coast, waving American flags and holding signs in support of the former president. Their messages next.
Stay connected with Eyewitness News. We're streaming live newscasts, breaking news, and weather with our free ABC 7 Los Angeles app on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Google TV. Just search ABC 7 Los Angeles.
Former President Donald Trump is in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, but some of his supporters turned out at Trump Tower in New York City today. They wanted to show their support one day after the assassination attempt on the former president. They rallied and paraded past the building, waving American flags and Trump flags and blaring the song Born in the USA. Police say traffic was only disrupted briefly.
And here in Southern California, supporters of the former president holding a rally in Huntington Beach. The group gathering near the pier on PCH in Maine, marching in the streets, waving American flags, holding up signs supporting the former president.
Firefighters in Fontana investigating what caused a massive fire to break out at a pallet yard. This happened just after 8 last night on Whitram Avenue near Beach Avenue. That fire causing a lot of smoke and spreading quickly, causing concern and knocking out power for some people that lived nearby. Crews were able to get the fire under control before it spread to a nearby tow yard. The fire was out within about 2 hours. No major injuries were reported, but a firefighter was treated for minor burns.
And local firefighters trying to determine as well what caused a fire at an abandoned restaurant in Koreatown. This fire broke out this morning on West 8th Street. Crews able to knock it down in less than an hour. No injuries were reported, but at one point fire crews had to back away from the interior and roof of the building over structural concerns.
From Russia to Israel, global leaders reacting to the assassination attempt. We've got those details next.
Plus, investigators are still trying to determine a motive for this shooting, what we know about the 20-year-old gunman, and what happened before the former president took to the podium.